Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, Bill Cannon, a retired NYPD sergeant. This is my daytime show I usually do called Coffee with Cannon. As you can hear, maybe in my voice, I'm a little bit somber today, as I have been the last few days, based on the two officers shot up in Harlem in the 3-2 precinct, place where I spent a lot of my career, at least in Manhattan North Homicide Squad. We feel like we were there all the time. Uh, as I said on my last broadcast, more or less a tribute to the officers, how great a precinct the 3-2 is, and how great the cops are in the 3-2, and the pain that all of the officers. I don't think the public can fully understand the pain that the officers are going through in regards to the shooting of these two young cops. That's the front of it on the screen for those that are watching via video. If you're listening, I'm going to describe the scene. That's the front of the 3-2 precinct. Anyone that's ever worked there or walked through those doors will recognize it in a minute. And one of the things that always takes people back when they walk through the doors of the 3-2 precinct is this visual I'm going to put up right here, and that's the memorial wall, and that has all the police officers in the history of the 3-2 precinct that were killed in the line of duty. And the 3-2 precinct, as you might realize, in the central Harlem, is an extremely busy precinct. But because of that, the officers are tight. The officers are experienced. Usually, the officers become really good at their job really, really fast because they have to learn really, really fast. And folks that aren't in policing to know what that means is officers respond. Sometimes police officers from the 3-2 precinct working a sector car may respond to 30 to 35 jobs in a night. Sometimes they don't even get a meal, but they're not the complaining type, you know. Uh, they're the type that do their job. They're the type that, again, become some of the greatest officers in the city. This is a picture of police officer Jason Rivera, 22 years old, who lost his life in this domestic violence incident. We talk about domestic violence as being one of or the most dangerous job that police officers ever respond to. And they're one of the reasons they're so dangerous is because they're so unpredictable. The officers in this job were spending time in the front of the apartment with the mother who called them, and the officers were spending time speaking with her and her other son, and about apparently the perp's name was LaShawn McNeil, who was an ex-convict, came up to New York City in November from Baltimore, and apparently she had seen him with this gun or with this type of gun and said, "Don't bring those guns or gun to New York." So uh, she must have known that he had a gun or had the predilection to use a gun, and there was a lot of stuff on social media which indicated his hatred of the police. But I don't want to make this about him. What I want to make this about is this officer here, this great young man that unfortunately lost his life. This was from Vinnie Vallong, and the SBA put this up. When a police officer is killed, it's not an agency that loses an officer; it's an entire nation, and that's for sure. That's for sure. And we see some of the tributes the other night when they took his body from Harlem Hospital. FDNY was out on the street saluting this officer. Just an incredible sight. Um, it gives you, if you've ever been a police officer, it gives you pangs in your heart uh, to hear about this. And these are the two officers that were sector car partners, PO Jason Rivera and PO Wibert Mora, who apparently is also in very critical condition. I don't know specifically in real time, um, whether he is expected to live or not. We hope and pray he does. Um, I know that it's been reported that he's gravely injured, and they did transport him from Harlem Hospital to NYU Langone Medical Center. So I'm not looking into any kind of breaking news. We all pray uh, for his recovery and that he lives through this. Uh, all you folks in the chat and everything, I mean, these are the somber moments of police work, and, policing is sometimes a thankless job, and you can always count on the support, though, of your peers to get you through the horrible days, the horrible days like this, and, only the people and the officers that work in the 3-2 precinct actually know how they're feeling, and, what I'm hearing is many, police officers, NYPD police officers from other commands are going to the 3-2 precinct to work patrol as the officers do other things in regards to this. I believe the services for PO Jason Rivera are going to be on. I think I pulled a copy of it. Here it is. Uh, Thursday, PO Police Officer Jason Rivera, Thursday, January 27th, 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. at St. Patrick's Cathedral. That's Fifth Avenue between 50th and 51st Street. The funeral service is Friday, January 28th at 9 a.m., also at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Um, I'm sure thousands of people will be there. The blue line of support will be there, not just from the NYPD, but from police agencies all over the country. Um, this is a very sad event, obviously. 22 years old. I mean, could you imagine? 22 years old, this man, Jason Rivera, lost his life. Um, and his partner, Wilbert Mora, is fighting for his life at this point. I'm just going to play a little bit of a video from the news the other night in regards to this case. I'm going to share it on the screen um, to get the understanding of the gravity and how horrible this was.
In 7th Avenues, we are told responded to a domestic incident involving a mother and her son. Police say when officers arrived, shots were fired. We have learned also that a third officer has been injured and a suspect has been shot.
Let's go to a live picture now from Chopper 2 over the scene tonight. Dan Rice just arrived there on the scene. Dan, what else can you tell us about this breaking news?
Well, Christina, Maurice, as you can imagine, a very chaotic scene down here on 135th Street. Here, we'll zoom in about halfway down the block. You can see numerous police officers gathered outside this building. As you said, we are just arriving on the scene. There's police tape all over the place. It appears this entrance here in the center of your video, that appears to be the building that everybody is focusing on here. But let me give you the bigger picture here. As you bring the camera out, you're going to see police cars for several blocks around this area here. Several streets shut off at this time. At one point, there was a mobilization around the area where they have a large number of police officers searching the area. But again, as you look down there, nothing but police lights all around that one particular building. As you said, those two police officers rushed to Harlem Hospital, a third one also injured. And again, the circumstances around this, we do know that there was that dispute that officers arrived at. And again, the condition of all the people involved, not yet known. Again, we'll keep an eye on this and give you more details as we get them. Live in Chopper 2, Dan Rice, Maurice, and Christine, back to you.
And Dan, as you hold that shot there, just a quick description of the neighborhood. You saw in the foreground there was a schoolyard. To the left is the Harlem YMCA, and just down the street is the 32nd Precinct. So police officers quickly arriving on the scene. And then just to the right is 6th Avenue or Lenox Avenue, right where the Schomburg Center is. And then you also have Harlem Hospital right there on the right-hand side of the screen in the upper corner there. So they were able to get the victims, those who were wounded, to the hospital rather quickly. So once again, we have the news tonight that two NYPD officers have been shot right there in central Harlem on 135th Street. Apparently a domestic incident involving a mother and her son. Shots were fired. Officers have been taken to the hospital, two of them tonight. And we're going to continue to follow this for you and bring you the latest on this breaking news at the bottom of the hour. We've got a full set of crews on the scene. We'll bring you the latest tonight on CBS 2 News and on the news at 11 o'clock.
And also,
So, folks, that was the scene the night that it happened. And there's always, when there's a major incident like this, there's always lots of confusion, because to get facts out and to get them out quickly is one thing, but to get them out correctly and to get accurate information takes time, because the detectives and the investigators that are investigating this, they have to they have to do a thorough investigation. This investigation is not over. It's still ongoing. In my role in Manhattan North Homicide Squad, unfortunately, and I assisted in investigating a lot of police shootings, police homicides, and it's the thing that really it gets when I see this, it still bothers me, and it unites. Hopefully, it unites the police all over the country, and the people that are anti-police. You know, it shows you what the police family goes through, and by that I just mean brothers in blue from all over the world, wherever they might be. One of the news they put a picture, I think it was the New York Post, of the gun that this perp used in this. Basically, he was attempting to assassinate two officers, and on the screen right there is a picture of the gun. You could see that circular magazine, which apparently held 40 rounds. Obviously, that's illegal. Obviously, no one is legally allowed to own that. Nevertheless, a convict. But I think we have to remain focused on not on the guns, which people want to cloud the situation with, but on the perp. Guns don't fire themselves. It takes a human being to fire a gun, and with malice. So when you hear these politicians talking about the guns, let's talk about the person that fired the guns, because the laws in New York City have been, and even this new DA Bragg, he doesn't want to prosecute criminals like this. So let's leave them on the street where they can shoot and kill police officers. So again, people say, "Oh, you're getting political." Yeah, well, policing and politics go hand in hand, unfortunately. And a lot of politicians hurt the police. They really do. They hurt the police in regards to handcuffing them with their hands behind their back with the policies they have. Bail reform is one of them. In New York City, we had that horrendous diaphragm law, which thank God was reversed, but that hurt the police. Stop, question, and frisk. When the press says it, they say stop and frisk. That's incorrect. It's called stop, question, and frisk. That needs to be brought back and used much more often, but without the demonization from the press and the politicians, because it is an effective tactic, one of the only tactics that I know to remove guns from the street is stop, question, and frisk. That is one of the only ways to remove guns from the street. Now, we need the support. We need the community's support. When you go into the police academy, everyone writes a letter on why I became a police officer. And on the screen, I have the letter that police officer Rivera wrote. And basically, he talks, because I can't see the font. I don't know if anyone else can. He talks about helping people, and helping the community. He's from Washington Heights. He's Dominican. He's from that community. And he wanted to join the police to help New York City and to help his own people and to do the right thing. And a great to look 22 years old, a great human being, a hero, no doubt, a hero. And the same officer Mora, who you see on the screen right now. I'm going to put a challenge coin on the screen right now. That was there was a great beloved captain who worked in the 3-2 in the early 90s, and his name was Captain Terrence Tunnock. And Captain Tunnock, he had an expression that he would always say, "Don't ever forget, we're the police." And there you see it on that challenge coin. And I'd just like to mention Captain Terrence Tunnock, a pure hero from the 3-2 precinct. What is the answer to this spate of guns in New York City? And it takes into consideration a lot of different things. The whole criminal justice bureau, the whole criminal justice, the police, corrections, the courts. That's criminal justice, right? the police, corrections, courts. Courts take into consideration the district attorney. The district attorney must prosecute. There must be penalties for committing crimes. And when there isn't, it's it just allows people to reoffend, to reoffend. You were seeing the disaster of bail reform and what it's done to us, and it's when we were so successful uh, in the '90s and into the 2000s with Comstat and broken windows policing. Uh, it took into consideration everyone had to be on board. So you talk about police, courts, and corrections. Corrections takes into consideration parole, probation, uh, incarceration, jails, Rikers Island, state prisons, because if there's no teeth in the law, then the criminal minded will just reoffend and reoffend and reoffend again, you know, and that has to be, we all have to be on the same page. Pat Russo from NYPD Kids in Boxing, I'm going to put what you said on the screen. We need to work with the community, target the recidivist criminals that destroy our neighborhoods, then work with the local prosecutors to arrest and incarcerate them. A large amount of crime is committed by a small percentage of individuals. That's 100% true, Pat. And Pat Russo, retired NYPD sergeant, a true hero that just doesn't talk the talk. He walks the walk. He volunteers his time with his NYPD Kids in Boxing program, and he teaches kids how to box all over the city. And that program has not just produced some great boxers who went to the Olympics, but produced some great human beings who got out of their neighborhood where maybe they would have gotten in trouble without Pat Russo, but they've become contributing members of society, and they respect and they really like the police because of people like Pat Russo. Programs like Kids in Boxing is what we're talking about. That's some of the things where the money should go. The if there's going to be spending money on programs, diversion programs, let's spend the money on young kids before they get in trouble. Let's give a kid who may be who may want to become a gangbanger. Let's get him out of that gang. Let's introduce him to boxing or some other sport, or help him with his homework. Help him get through school. Show him that being a gangbanger isn't the way. It's like Joe Murray, another great police officer who is now an attorney, and he writes, "So true, Pat Russo, selective incapacitation works." What he's referring to is people that are the worst of the worst. They have to go to jail. They have to go to prison. There's no diversionary programs once you commit the crime. Before you commit the crime, all right. But if you're going to commit serious crimes, you need to have a cell that's reserved for you. Larry Boritz, I was a member of the 3-2 precinct for 9 years. It still hurts. You are still part of the family for life. Even though I'm retired, I'm permanently connected to that precinct. I don't know these officers personally, but they were my brothers. Captain Tunnick was a great man. I don't want to read the other thing you said. But yeah, Captain Tunnick was a great man. And the 3-2 precinct has a legacy of great cops. And cops that made that precinct great, and the reputation it has in Manhattan North, the reputation that it has throughout the city. It's just an amazing place, and great cops, great detective squad. I worked with their detective squad for 10 years, and we were there a great deal of the time. I'm just going to play a little more of a news report. We'll put it up on the screen.
That he dreamt of being a police officer. Police hang black bunting over the entrance of the 32nd precinct, a solemn reminder that the NYPD just lost one of their own. Last night, a procession held outside of Harlem Hospital carried the remains of Officer Jason Rivera, The 22-year-old was killed yesterday evening when he and his partner were shot ambush style after responding to a domestic call inside a first-floor apartment on West 135th Street.
22, wow, that's not even living life, but, he put it all on the line, because he cared about his community.
Johnny Evans, like many in the neighborhood who knew Officer Rivera, stopped by the precinct to pay their respect.
I could tell, like, he really cared, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know he was a rookie, you know what I'm saying? And you could just, from knowing that, you could tell he came with new blood. He came with, just wanting to help the community.
Officer Jason Rivera leaves behind a wife. He was Dominican and grew up in Inwood. He graduated from Wills High School in Washington Heights. His older brother tells Eyewitness News that he dreamt of being a police officer. In a letter to his commanding officer in the police academy, Officer Rivera wrote, quote, "When I applied to become a police officer, I knew this was the career for me. Coming from an immigrant family, I will be the first to say that I am a member of the NYPD, the greatest police force in the world." Officer Rivera joined the force in November of 2020. Members of the National Action Network gathered outside of the crime scene to pray for Officer Rivera and his partner, 27-year-old Officer Wibert Mora, who was shot in his head and is now at Harlem Hospital clinging to life.
We're praying for these families. We know that there are tragedies that are happening on police every day, and we want to stand up for that. We know that that is wrong.
Now, Officer Rivera's older brother was too emotional to speak on camera with me, but he wanted me to leave you with this about his brother. He loved what he did, and he was the hardest working person. I want people to know how much he loved what he did and how much he devoted to his career. And he died doing what he loved, and I am extremely proud of him. Now, Cardinal Timothy Dolan met with both families of both police officers. There will be a candlelight vigil here soon at 6:30. The mayor is expected to attend. And if you want to read that full letter by Officer Rivera that he sent and when he was in the police academy, you can find that on our website. It's abc7ny.com.
Just tragic. Everything you read. I mean, it's the real police. That's what we call people that do this job. The real police, the police that are out there fighting crime, the police that are out there in a radio car. We call them the real police, and it's this hurts. This hurts everyone that's that's ever worn an NYPD shield over their left breast, and we talk a lot about this on Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. We praise some of the great cops, and it's just it's so heartbreaking to see this, and I would rather praise these guys, Police Officer Mora, and it's just Police Officer Jason Rivera. It's just so hard to take. It really is. It's very difficult. And I know that I've heard from guys from the 3-2 family, the 3-2 precinct in Harlem, one of the closest precincts in regards to the cops being tight in Manhattan North. Because guess what? When you could lose your life and when you need backup and when you see those lights coming, and you can depend on those guys, that creates a closeness that only cops that really work in a busy command can fully appreciate. And the 3-2 is one of those commands. At least in Manhattan North, it's just amazing. Folks, in the chat, let's try to just keep it respectable today. I don't want to really, and I understand everyone's anger. Larry Boritz, another 3-2 veteran. Thanks for dedicating this program to these two officers. As I stated early in my post, I'm connected for life, not only being a member, but I was also shot. God bless Larry. It's important that we as a police family, we stay together, when we we fight the powers that are against us, and many of the same people that are cheering us on today, 2 weeks from now, will be cursing out the police. So we understand that too. People like to get political mileage when uh, it's not dangerous for them to do so. They want to get political mileage out of it. But we recognize what they call them wolves in sheep's clothing. Well, we know who our friends are and we know who our enemies are. And uh, we just want to praise these two officers and we want to pray for them and pray for their families. And again, that's what this is all about. We felt it through when we responded to 9/11, the camaraderie we had with first responders, uh, and the camaraderie we have right now with a fallen officer. It's the pain is there. Um, we just almost don't know what to say, and fully, we have the most respect we have is for other members, and you see it on the screen, the front of the 3-2 precinct. That's who's feeling the pain now. An old-time detective who was on the DEA board of directors, Irvin Urbina. I've been on the phone with him, and he was really Mr. 3-2. He was there for 32 years out of his police career, and I've spoken to him, and it's just an incredible thing, the closeness the 3-2 people feel. Um, Eddie Stackpole, I got to work all over the city. The 3-2 had the best backup, bar none. That's for sure. The 3-2, uh, 3-2 had some of the greatest cops. I mentioned some of the commanding officers of the 3-2. I forgot the other day, John Timoney. John Timoney was a CEO of the 3-2 precinct. Mario Salvaggi, um, legendary Chief Louis Anamone, Vinnie Coogan. Um, I'm sure I'm forgetting people, and I'm not doing it on purpose. Uh, the new the it's I mean, some of the greatest commanding officers were commanders of the 3-2 because it was recognized by the powers that be as one of the most important precincts in Manhattan North. It just and the busiest. So they assigned the best to be the commanding officer of the 3-2. It goes hand in hand. So as I said, some of the greatest, yeah, Larry Boritz, Irvin Abina, great guy, Mr. 3-2, as I would call him. Uh, they're great anti-crime guys. Tommy Kennedy, um, Terry McGee. You know, uh, I'm leaving Tommy Barrett. These guys were legendary guys from the 3-2 precinct, and I'm sure I could go back further and further and further in the history of Lieutenant Peter Pranzo. I mean, you want to go back into the archives of the 3-2, great legendary 3-2 commander, lieutenant on the street, Lieutenant Peter Pranzo. Guys, I mean, I'm just giving people that don't know about the 3-2. Again, it's one of the busiest precincts in Manhattan North, probably in the city. And I'm not saying busy job wise. There's many precincts that say, "Oh, we're the busiest in the world." No, you're not. You're the busiest job wise. I'm talking about busiest in violence and real, like, dangerous police work. Uh, Larry Boritz, so many great guys have come from there. You mentioned the great ones. Thanks for that. Yeah, I mean, look, I worked with I worked with Terry McGee. I worked with Tommy Kennedy. I never worked with Tommy Barrett. I worked with Vinnie Coogan. I worked with Chief Louis Anamone. So I love to bring these guys up. Carol Wirtz, so heartbreaking. My sincere condolences to this officer's family and friends. Prayers for all, and that certainly includes the officer still clinging to life in the hospital. Um, that's for sure. We want to pray for him and his family, especially his family. And of course the officer. Um, folks, and you folks that support police off the cuff, I think it's important. Police off the cuff, real crime stories. I just think it's important for the police to have a voice. For us to have a voice that's not um, second guessed by other people, by second guessed by maybe the press, because we're the real police, telling the real police stories, and Before I sign off, I'm going to put up on the screen, and I'm going to say it out loud. I'm going to put the services up on the screen here. Police Officer Jason Rivera, 32 Precinct. Viewing Thursday, January 27th from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. at St. Patrick's Cathedral, Fifth Avenue between 50th and 51st Street. Funeral service Friday, January 28th at 9 a.m. also at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Folks, if you're not police, if you're from the general public, we would love to have you there. We want the support of the public. We want the support of the community. We want the community to say, we support our police. We don't want to defund our police. We support our police. And that's so important to these officers that are working, so important to these officers that now have to go into work. Imagine going into the 3-2 precinct to work a shift knowing that two of the guys that you worked with, one is dead and one is clinging to his life. Could you imagine that? And I don't have his name. I want to shout out to the rookie officer who shot this perp. Amazing, amazing job. You deserve all the praise in the world. They should make you a detective. I don't care if you have no time on the job. That was tremendous, tremendous work. And you should be praised. You should be honored. For all police from all over the world should understand what you did and how brave that was. And we definitely understand that. Someone put his name up on Nancy Road. My prayers are also with P.O. Sumit Sulan. He's going to need all our support, but mostly from his brother. That's the officer who shot the perp. And God bless him and God bless his family. And amazing job. Just amazing job, if I can praise you myself. I just think you did an incredible job. Folks, I'm going to end this broadcast now. I just wanted to go on the air and again, a little tribute to these officers. Prayers, support from the community. Please go to St. Patrick's Cathedral, attend the funeral. I mean, the more support that we could see, the more support we get from the community, the better it is. And so this is Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. I call this show that I do during the day Coffee with Cannon. Guys, thank you so much for listening. It's you're much appreciated. And again, if you could show your support by going to the wake or to the funeral, that would be greatly appreciated by the NYPD family. Seeing the public there supporting instead of protesting the police would be a nice thing. So, guys, on behalf of myself, Bill Cannon, retired NYPD sergeant, God bless Fidelis ad mortem to those officers. And I'll see you again soon. Have a safe day.